Hey, what's up? It seems that Lost Ark wants you to return to the game, and it appears that they are confident enough in the changes they've made and the changes they will make for the next 2 months to have you back on fresh start servers, by the way. Servers which have exactly the same content as the legacy ones, only with the difference that they believe gatekeeping, bots, and the daily grind will be better on a fresh start version. And with that, Smilegate also believes that the Western service is in a good place to bring players back. And just to give you a couple of examples that they have in mind when they say we are ready for returning players, one of them being Chaos Dungeons, for example, will take 25% less time overall to complete. And another example is that Guardian raid entries with full loot have been reduced from 2 a day to 1 a day in an attempt to cut down on your homework, on your chores. Now, having this said, and keeping in mind that these are not the only changes that are coming to Lost Ark to better suit new and returning players, I'm still a little bit on the fence here. I'm not saying they're bad changes, actually, they're good on paper, but I'm just worried that they might be more of a band-aid than a full solution. Now, let's dissect this info and talk about some of the scenarios here based on what we have so far in the article. So, fresh start, everyone's back at square one, new servers. At first glance, fewer guardians, faster chaos sounds good, and you might think, okay, I get to do some of my daily chores faster and get the same amount of mats, which leaves me with more free time on my hands. I can choose to spend that leftover with my family or studying or playing another game, and so Lost Ark feels less of a burden in my life overall, all while still having as much honing as I had before. It's good so far, right? But I would have added a little bit extra, maybe, to this time-saving concept, just because it's a fresh start, and I want to go the extra mile if I'm Smilegate, especially for the players. For example, cut the daily quests to 1 instead of 3. For no particular reason besides these loading screens, like 4 per characters times 6 characters in a row, they are just literally suffocating. Another thing that I would have done is changing the rest bonus to not bite you in the ass and give you less loot if you gather this rest bonus, but instead be a tool that empowers you to have different looking days. Because with the rest bonus, you always are on a loss if you gather it. And I maybe should be grateful to just have a rest bonus in this MMORPG, but it's a fresh start server again. I want to go full ham, I want to go all the way. Granted, excessive repetition of daily content is also toned down by them reducing the amount of guardians that you do every day, and also the speed at which you finish chaos dungeons, so you get to see less of them every day. But it could be absolutely magical when you could choose today and tomorrow I'm not doing any guardian raids, any chaos dungeons, any daily quests, and I get 1 full bar for each, which means I don't lose on any loot. But then in 2 days from now, I'm gonna do, like, 4 chaos dungeons or 4 guardian raids or 3, and then I get to win everything back. It would be very helpful, especially if you want to impress players that have already quit your game. Another thing I wanted to discuss is free-to-play hardcore players. Players who spend a lot of time in the game and want to be rewarded for it. They don't want to pay real money, they just want to make it for free. In my opinion, on a fresh start server, you should sort of consider these players as well, and you should consider somehow making them happy. Now, apparently, these changes that we have so far give these kinds of players more time to play, even more characters, right? If you want to see it like that. But then realistically, the only thing that these players are getting for their main characters to sort of boost them up faster and thus feel more rewarded for their time spent in game is just twice the leap stones from the Guardian change and 25% more rogues from the Chaos Dungeon change. Not directly, of course, but indirectly because of the reduction in time spent to complete it, and so you can play maybe more characters, and this is how you come up with these numbers. Now, a player like that can have 1,000,000,000,000 leap stones, quite frankly, because without honor shards, he still cannot hone. Just an observation on the fact that I also used to play Lost Ark for 10 hours every day. However, I never really felt that my time in Lost Ark was was rewarded enough. And lastly, I also want to pose a scenario where Billy, CEO Billy, a wallet warrior, can just simply continue to pay to win on a fresh server. Quite frankly, one of the best ways to get ahead when there's not enough mats on the marketplace because everyone's honing and not selling is the cash shop. And so with that, an extra incentive to spend some real money, right? Which at this point, I don't really mind. It doesn't bother me. It's like whatever. But some people might actually be bothered. If I would be Smilegate, I would disable every single honing item in the cash shop for at least 1 month, just to see what happens. And just because it's the relaunch of Lost Ark, I would leave the currency exchange though for those juicy whales to buy my expensive gold, and with that gold, my expensive mats too. I think that would be fun. So I wouldn't touch that. Smilegate can make some money out of those as well. And then all of this makes me think about gatekeeping, which in its basic form is a party leader having to choose in between yourself and maybe 6 different applicants that each have either better stuff than you have, not just gear, armor, and weapons, but other things, or they are just a different class that maybe fits more with the combination they already have. And so gatekeeping disappearing completely is never going to happen. However, obviously, because we all start fresh, Billy, the wallet warrior, is not gonna gatekeep you with level 6 gems when he has level 7 gems. So it's definitely gonna get better, but how long will this rainbow of gatekeeping last? I guess until the gap is going to be considerable enough for people to really look at you and think you're dirty, right? And that in Lost Ark does unfortunately have a big chance to happen because there's always bigger and better, and bigger and better is better. But having all of this said, a few questions come to my mind, doubts if you may. Will a player like Andy, the hardcore wannabe free to play player, get burned out again just because he's playing as much as he used to before he quit, only now on more characters because he freed up some time? Or will the game finally feel rewarding enough to keep Andy motivated, seeing a fulfilling vertical progress? I guess we're gonna find that out in September because we don't have a lot of details so far. Honing after 1580, this is another question that comes to mind, gets incredibly hard. And as I understand from the article, we're gonna get there quite fast. Now, will these changes to player homework and will the incentives related to progression be satisfying enough to retain the people who gave the game another chance after 1580? Will this new community of players even have enough time to reach item level 1620 by December without feeling FOMO, stress, or compelled to deposit real money? Because there is the Ivory Tower patch incoming in December, and as it stands right now, I cannot see how honing so much will be remotely possible on a fresh server with little to no mats for sale, tradable ones, and also, according to Amazon, no bots to farm them either. And I strongly believe that new content is not a luxury that is mercifully bestowed upon me, nor should it be a reason for stress and FOMO, but instead an absolute basic right in a game such as Lost Ark in 2023. Now that I say this out loud, will the new servers even have the Ivory Tower and 1620 content in December when in fact they open up in September, so there's like just literally max 2 months in between? I don't know, maybe they get content with a delay, or who knows, maybe there's going to be some major honing buffs before December, or will we just end up in the same situation as on the original release where everything was a race to beat the apparent bottomless hole of more and more item level to meet some criteria? And so I just wanted to explain my reasons for being skeptical, but my conclusion is that I am inevitably excited for a fresh start in Lost Ark. I would be excited for a fresh start in any MMORPG, quite frankly. I think they're fun. However, I also know that there's 2 types of fresh starts. One in the lines of what Final Fantasy XIV did, where they have completely revamped and restructured their game to such a massive degree that a fresh start was warranted, and it was incredibly well received with a completely different experience. And on the other side of the spectrum, you have games such as Aeon, Terra, Arcade, which also had fresh starts. New servers opened up for the sake of playing on those new servers and having fun from the beginning without any major restructuring of their game or without any long-term goal in mind, right? Lost Ark's fresh start is somewhere in the middle of these two extremes. I can see some reasons why they would consider opening up new servers. The game has had a lot of new player-friendly changes throughout the last year and a half, and especially in recent months, but unfortunately nobody's new anymore. And these changes, while they were coming, again in very, very little and far apart steps, we were already not interested in them because they were not necessarily for our stage where we were at that time. But imagine if everyone is new and we already have all of these things that are now present in the game. I think it's definitely going to be a much better experience than the original one. However, is it going to be good enough to make people re-fall in love with the game? I think that at a bare minimum, it's going to be a little bit of fun. Every fresh start is a little bit of fun. So why not? I'm definitely going to check them out, see how the atmosphere is, and obviously come back to you here on YouTube with videos about it. But my expectations are really not that high for the long term. I guess we're going to have to see. In the meantime, I thank you so much for watching this video, for your time, and I'm going to see you really soon. Take care.